Hey guys, Soberoni of G&A Reviews here with another event guide, this time for the upcoming NeroFest event in FGO NA. As usual, this is going to be a very in-depth guide covering everything from the new event craft essences to the most efficient farming strategies, so you can look in the description below for timestamps, that way you can skip ahead to whatever part of the guide you need the most. I also want to mention that this is going to be another two-part event guide, reason being that this is a very long event. So this guide is going to cover everything about the event except the challenge quest. Later on this week, I'm going to have a guide that covers all the challenge quests in depth, so look forward to that. And in order to participate in this event, all you need to have done is completed the first chapter, which is Fuyuki, and you'll be good to go. So without further ado, let's just get right into the event and talk about the gacha. So this event is not going to have any new servants, unfortunately. The gacha does not have any new servants, and there is no welfare servant. Instead, we're going to have rate-ups for a bunch of different servants. First up, we have Nero Bride. She's a 5-star arts saber with 11,607 attack and 14,248 HP. She's one of the best sabers in the game and a very good support, so I highly recommend rolling for her if you don't have her already and you need a saber. I also have a full spotlight for her and regular Nero linked in the description below, so you can check that out if you want a more in-depth analysis. But next up, we have the 4-star Nero on Rateup as well. She's a 4-star saber with 9,449 max attack and 11,753 HP. She's an art saber, much like her 5-star version, but she's much more tanky and is another good pickup if you need a decent saber. On top of those two, we also have rate-ups for 3 different 3-stars. First up, we have Julius Caesar with 7,497 max attack and 9,595 max HP. He's another good saber you can pick up that provides both good support and decent damage. Next up, we have Romulus. He's a 3-star Lancer. He's not bad, especially if you need a Lancer for farming. And then finally, we have Boudica. She's a 3-star Rider with 6,289 max attack and 10,130 max HP. She's a very defensive rider, so if you're looking for something more tanky, then definitely go with her. And that covers all the servants on Rate-Up for this event. Let's talk about the new craft essences. There's going to be 5 new craft essences coming with this event. 3 of them are going to be available in the gacha, and 2 of them are going to come from the event shop and the event lottery system. Let's cover the gacha craft essences first, and first up we have the 3-star craft essence, Howling to the Moon. This will increase your buster card effectiveness by 10%, while also decreasing debuff resist by 20% as a demerit. It will also increase the bronze medal drops by 1, and if you limit break it, it'll increase your buster card effectiveness by 15% and increase bronze medal drops by 2. This is a very good budget craft essence for high damage buster servants like Lubu and Kyohime. I do recommend getting this, as it has good applications even outside of the event. Next up, we have the 4-star Primal Legion. It increases defense by 8% and NP strength by 15%. It'll also increase silver medal drops by 1. If you limit break it, it'll increase defense by 10%, NP strength by 20%, and medal drops by 2. This gives it useful buffs all around. It's very good if you limit break it, and it's especially useful on tanky offensive servants like Nero and Ibaraki. And finally, we have the 5-star craft essence, Here's Your Honor. It'll increase your NP strength by 15%, your critical strength by 15%, and grant you 3 crit stars per turn. It'll also increase gold medal drops by 1. If you limit break it, it'll increase NP strength and crit strength by 20%, and increase gold medal drops by 2. This is another amazing craft essence for crit servants. It makes them very self-sufficient, so servants like Rama, Gil, Li Shuwen, Ku Prototype, Karna, Okita, basically any crit servant is going to love this craft essence. So with those out of the way, let's talk about the non-gacha craft essences. First up, let's talk about the one you get from the shop, that is Joint Recital. It's a 5-star craft essence that increases buster card effectiveness by 15% and increases critical strength by 15%. It will also increase Petal drops by 1. If you limit break it, it'll increase buster card effectiveness and critical strength by 20% and increase Petal drops by 2. Now this is one of the best event craft essences in the entire game. It's absolutely broken on buster crit servants if you limit break it, like Gil, Rama, Karna, Jolter. It's absolutely broken. And finally, the last craft essence is going to be the one you get from the lottery. It is the 5-star Princess of the White Roses. It grants you Guts, reviving you 1 time with 1 HP, and it'll also increase your NP gauge by 10% at the start of the battle. For the NeroFest event only, it will also increase your attack by 100%, and if you limit break it, it'll increase your attack by 200% while also increasing your NP gauge by 20% at the start of the battle. Outside of this event, it gives a little bit of survivability, but it does have really limited usage. It works best for Anne and Mary Ryder. So those are going to be all the new craft essences we're getting. Let's talk about the shop itself. Much like with every event shop, NeroFest is going to have 3 different currencies that exchange for different ascension materials in the event shop. We have bronze, silver, and gold medals. Bronze medals will exchange for 1 copy of Joint Recital, as well as seashells, void dust, hero's proof, saber, lancer, and rider gems, and attack and HP foes. Silver medals will trade in for another copy of Joint Recital, as well as magic lamps, phoenix plumes, snake jewels, and saber, lancer, and rider red gems. And finally, the gold medals will trade in for 2 copies of Joint Recital, Scarab of Wisdom, Chaos Talons, Octuplet Crystals, and Saber, Lancer, and Rider gold gems, as well as 500 mana prisms. Overall, if you plan on buying everything from the shop, you're going to need 2,700 gold medals, 2,000 silver medals, and 2,200 bronze medals. You should also take note that only 4 of the Joint Recital craft essences are available through the shop, which means you are going to have to get lucky and have one drop while you're farming if you want to limit break this craft essence. And again, this is probably one of the best event craft essences we'll ever get, so I highly recommend limit breaking it. In addition to the shop, this event also comes with a lottery, very similar to the Christmas 2017 and Da Vinci events. And through the lottery, you can get a ton of good ascension materials, as well as QP, mana prisms, and all the good stuff. This infographic shows exactly what's going to be available in the lottery, and it comes courtesy of Lord Ashura. Lord Ashura has his own guide, which is extremely detailed and goes into much more detail than this one. I have it linked in the description below, so do check it out. I personally find it very helpful. But the lottery is going to be how you're going to get copies of Princess of the White Rose. There's going to be 5 of those. There's also going to be a crystal lore, but you can also get gold, silver, and bronze apples, night medals, forbidden chains, ancient gears, ghost lanterns, monuments and pieces for all the different classes, gold and silver EXP, friend points, over 3 million QP, and a ton of mana prisms every single time you clear a lottery box. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with lotteries, the lottery box is the best and most efficient way to farm items. You'll be able to essentially farm these boxes infinitely. They cost 600 petals per box. Petals are going to be currency you're going to be farming in the event, and every single time you clear one of these boxes, you're just going to get a ton of stuff. There's no more efficient farming method than lottery boxes, so I highly recommend you use all of your apples for this. Use all of them. Don't save any apples, just use all your apples to farm for this event. The lottery box is going to be the best use of apples you can ever possibly have. It's just too much value to pass up on. There are a couple of people who asked me about the Christmas lottery. So the next Christmas event in 2018 is going to also have a lottery box. It's going to be the same as this one, except it's going to have bones, snake eyes, octuplet crystals, and void dust. So if those sound appealing to you, you might want to save a handful of apples to bring with you into Christmas. But for now, you definitely want to spend all your apples on this lottery box. And of course, just like with Da Vinci and Christmas, you can do this infinite times. There's no limit to how many times you can roll the lottery. However, the 5-star craft essence is limited to the first 5 boxes. The crystallized lore is only going to be available in the 6th box, and the gold and silver apples are also only going to be available in the first 6 boxes. So the structure of the event is going to be a little bit different than normal. There's no real story or anything like that. It's basically just a tournament, and you're going to have a bunch of free quests that you're going to continuously farm. In total, there's going to be 6 different free quests that are going to represent different stages of the tournament. Each one is going to be harder than the last. Each free quest is going to have a different team of servants that you fight at the end, and there's going to be 3 different stages to this tournament. Every 4 days, you're going to get a new set of 6 free quests. And that's going to represent advancing through the different levels of the tournament. So you're going to start out with the first set of 6 stages, which is going to be preliminaries. Then after 4 days, there'll be the new set of 6 free quests, which will be the main battles or the semifinals. And then finally, the last 4 days of the event are going to be another 6 new free quests that are going to be considered the finals. So that means each stage of the event is going to have a deadline. The first set of 6 free quests in the preliminaries is going to be available from September 13th to September 17th. Once September 17th hits, we'll get 6 new free quests that are going to replace the preliminaries, and that's going to last from the 17th until the 21st. Then once the 21st hits, we're going to lose those 6 free quests, and they're going to be replaced by another set of 6 new free quests that are going to represent the finals, and the finals are going to last from the 21st to the 25th, aka until the end of the event. Now that means if you're going to farm a certain stage that you like, just be aware that the free stages that you're farming are on a timer, a 4-day timer. So that does put a lot of pressure on you to farm efficiently with a small amount of time. I do recommend doing all of the free quests because they grant you apples as rewards, and as I explained earlier, you're going to want to use as many apples as possible to farm the lottery. I do recommend max limit breaking the Princess of the White Rose craft essence ASAP, so make sure you clear 6 lottery boxes as quickly as possible so that you can max limit break it. Reason being because it gives you a 200% damage bonus, which makes farming these free quests infinitely easier. You're gonna definitely need that 200% damage bonus. As far as a recommended level for these free quests, I would say try to be around level 70 and make sure you have the limit broken White Rose craft essence. These free quests can be a little bit difficult because you're going to be fighting a team of servants at the end, and sometimes those servants are going to be a mixed bag. For example, there's going to be a fight against Saber Altar, Emiya, and Boudica, which is pretty difficult. There's another fight against Gil, Ozymandias, and Needlecris, which is pretty difficult. There's a bunch of different classes of servants you're going to be fighting, which makes the free quest very hard to build teams for. And because each of the free quests is so drastically different in terms of the enemies you're going to be facing, I can't really suggest any servants that are good for the whole event. You're going to just need a diverse range of servants that are good for every class. This event is not very new player or free-to-play player friendly, so if you are a newer player, you're going to struggle a bit. However, I will say that Kuro, Mosh, and Rider Kintoki are very strong for this event, mostly because they're free and they're overpowered. And Lubu and Kyohime as well can be very good because they're berserkers. You can easily get them to Noble Phantasm 5 because they're 3 stars. And if they have a max limit broken White Rose, they should be able to kill anything easily. So those are my recommendations as far as servants go. But again, you're going to benefit most from just having a diverse mixture of every class. And I'm not going to touch on the challenge quest, the exhibition quest as they're called in this event. That's going to be an entirely separate guide. So for now, let's talk about where you're going to want to farm. Farming for this event is thankfully very straightforward. First and foremost, you're going to want to roll the friend point gacha for that 3-star craft essence. It'll make farming just a bit easier. In addition, you're going to want to prioritize joint recital from the event shop before anything else. So make sure that you buy that event shop craft essence first. You're also going to want to not max limit break it until the event ends. Make sure you keep as many copies of it as possible because it'll increase the amount of petal drops that you get. You're going to need those petal drops for the lottery. So keep the joint recital craft essence separate until the event ends. And finally, the last major tip is that the best place to farm the different currencies never really changes. So I know I mentioned that the free quests change every 4 days. However, even though the quest itself changes, you're still going to follow the same basic structure. So for example, the bronze medals are always going to be best farmed in the novice quest, the 10 AP free quest. So regardless of whether you're doing it in the preliminaries, the semifinals, or the finals, the 10 AP free quest is always going to be the best place to farm bronze medals. Silver medals are always going to be better farmed in the intermediate quest, the 20 AP. So again, whether it's preliminaries, semifinals, or finals, they're all going to be the same in terms of farming. The gold medals are going to be farmed in the heroic free quest. That's the recommended level 80 free quest. So if you're farming for gold medals, whether it's semifinals, preliminaries, or finals, always farm the heroic node. And finally, petals are always going to be farmed in the hardest quest, which is the champion or monarch node, aka it's going to be the recommended level 90 free quest. Make sure you farm that whether it's preliminaries, semifinals, or finals. The drop rates between those 3 different types of events do not change. So whether you're farming for petals in the preliminary champion node or you're farming for petals in the final champion node, the drop rates are basically the same, which means you can start farming for these things immediately. You do not have to wait for the more difficult quests to come out. So even though the quests are going to be harder, they're not going to necessarily have better drops. The 10 AP finals quest is going to be a lot harder than the 10 AP preliminary quest, but they're both going to have the same drop rate for bronze medals, for example. So make sure you pick whichever free quest is easier for you to farm. So let's take a look at each free quest that's worth farming. So when it comes to the bronze medals, your choices are going to be the 10 AP preliminary, 10 AP semifinal, and the 10 AP finals. Again, doesn't matter which one you choose, you should choose whichever one is easiest for you based on your team and also based on what you need. You'll notice that all these free quests will drop different ascension materials. So the preliminary 10 AP is going to have Blackbeard and Anne and Bonnie Ryder as enemies at the end, and it's going to drop Hero's Proof. The semifinals version is going to have Sanson, Marie Antoinette, and Chevalier Dayon as its final wave, and it's going to drop Dragon Fangs. And then the finals version is going to have Hans, Shakespeare, and Dante's at the end, and it's going to drop Evil Bones. So whichever one is the best place for you to farm is the one you should be farming for bronze medals. Moving on to the silver medals, the first preliminary quest is going to have you facing off against Martha, Iris Veal, and Florence Nightingale, and it's going to drop Dragon Fangs. The semifinals version is going to be facing off against Saber Alter, Emiya, and Boudica, and it's going to drop Ancient Gears. And the finals version is going to be up against Sanzo, Beowulf, and Martha Ruler, and it's going to drop octuplet crystals. So pick whichever is the best one for you out of that group. Moving on to the gold medals. In the preliminaries, you're going to be facing Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, and Helena, and it's going to drop Pages and Hearts of a Foreign God. So this might be the best spot to farm for gold medals because you're going to be getting two pretty essential ascension items here. So I highly recommend farming the preliminaries finals for the gold medals. But you can also farm the semifinals version, which is going to be against Fergus, Fionn, and Skyhawk, and it's going to drop Bicorn Horns and Snake Jewels. Or you can farm the finals version, which is going to be against Gawain, Lancelot, and Tristan, and it's going to drop Knight medals. Now finally, when you're farming for petals, which are going to be used for the lottery, in the preliminaries you're going to be up against Amakusa and Dante's, and it's going to drop Chaos Talons. I recommend not doing this one unless you have a really strong Berserker and a really strong Avenger, because it's pretty difficult to kill Amakusa and Dante's. If that's not your cup of tea, you can do the semifinals version of the Champion Quest with Karna and Arjuna, and it's going to drop Spirit Roots and Chains of a Fool. And then finally, the last spot you can farm for petals is going to be the finals version of the Champion Quest with Gilgamesh, Ozymandias, and Nitocris, which drops Horseshoes and Scarabs. Pick whichever one of those appeals to you the most based on what kind of team you have and what ascension items you're looking to farm. The one tip I will say though is make sure you farm for gold medals before silver medals, because the locations that drop gold medals also drop a lot of silver medals, so you can kind of farm two at once. But with all of that said, let's talk about ascension farming. There's going to be a lot of ascension farming you can do in NeroFest. As you can see, there's just a ton of stuff you can get from farming NeroFest, which is what makes it one of the better events. Again, this infographic comes from Lord Ashura. I have his guide linked in the description below, so make sure to check it out. But to give you a quick overview, in the preliminaries you can farm Hero's Proof, Dragon Fangs, Phoenix Plumes, Homunculus Babies, Red Tearstone Drops, Forbidden Pages, Hearts, Void Dust, and Talons. In the semifinals, you can farm Dragon Fangs, Ancient Gears, Void Dust, Yggdrasil Seeds, Lamps, Snake Jewels, Bicorn Horns, Chains, and Spirit Roots. And then in the finals, you can farm Evil Bones, Octuplet Crystals, Hero's Proof, Dragon Scales, Black Tar Pots, Night Metals, Horseshoes, and Scarabs. These will drop depending on which difficulty of free quest you pick. For example, if you're doing the Novice in the semifinals, that's where you're going to get Dragon Fangs. If you're doing the intermediate finals mission, you're going to get Octuplet Crystals. I won't go into the drop rates for these because they're nothing incredible. It's nothing like with Prisma Codes where we had a 90% drop for feathers. However, if you do want to know what the drop rates are, then check out that Lord Ashura guide. He has it very detailed in there, and you guys should be showing him some love. I should also mention that these missions will also drop skill gems depending on the boss. So if you're fighting a Lancer boss, there's a good chance he'll drop Lancer skill gems. If you're fighting an Archer, he'll probably drop Archer skill gems. Again, if you want the exact rates for that, check out Lord Ashura's guide, linked in the description below. But that about wraps it up for Ascension farming. And that about covers everything I had to say for this first guide. Remember, there's going to be a 2-part guide, so second part is going to come out later this week, and that's going to explicitly cover all of the exhibition quest, aka the challenge quest. So look forward to that. But as a quick summary of this, just make sure you get 5 copies of that joint recital craft essence. It's one of the best event craft essences in the game, so I highly recommend farming for those drops. Make sure you don't limit break it until after the event though, because you're going to want to keep it separate to maximize those petal drops. However, you do want to max limit break Princess of the White Rose, because it's going to give you an incredible power boost, which is going to make farming easier. I also highly recommend using all of your apples for this event, no matter how many you have. The lottery is just way too important, it's way too efficient, so make sure you farm as many petals as possible. And make sure you choose where you're going to farm based on what ascension materials and skill gems you need and how difficult that free quest is for you to farm. You have a lot of options when it comes to farming free quests, so make the best use of it. I also want to extend a thank you to Lord Ashura for the guide. It's linked in the description, has a lot more in-depth information, and if you guys do want to support Lord Ashura, he also has a Patreon. I'll link that in the description below as well. And if you did enjoy this video and it helped you out, make sure you leave a like and consider subscribing. If you haven't already, do follow us on Twitter, join the party over at our Discord, and follow us on Twitch. And I will see you all in that part 2 guide. Soberoni signing out. Later.